Welcome to Cloud Solutions Podcast, where we simplify the world of cloud technology, one episode at a time.
All right, let's dive in. Today, we're talking all about Amazon EKS,
EKS.
but with a twist.
Uh-huh.
We're figuring out how to scale it
Okay.
without,
Yeah.
completely blowing up our cloud bill.
Right.
So making sure your applications can handle pretty much anything,
Right.
but not paying for a ton of resources
Yeah.
that you don't actually need.
Yeah.
How do we find that balance, that
Yeah.
sweet spot?
So EKS is really all about flexibility and power, but I
Yeah.
think the different scaling options can be really overwhelming for
Yeah.
people. It's like you're in a jungle
Yeah.
and you're trying to navigate without a map.
Right.
And so that's where this deep dive comes in.
Yeah.
We're using insights from AWS's own
Okay.
prescriptive guidance
Yeah.
to give a clear path to optimizing
Yeah.
your EKS setup.
Peak performance
Right.
and cost efficiency, that's the goal.
Exactly.
Okay, we've got a lot to get through, so let's jump right in.
Jump in.
First stop, compute scaling.
Right.
Imagine your app suddenly has
Yeah.
like a ton of users all at once.
Mm.
Maybe a viral marketing campaign takes
Yeah.
off, or,
Something like that.
some big event happens.
Yeah.
You need more computing power
Yes.
and fast.
Fast, yes. You need to be able to respond very quickly.
Right. How do you even
You'll-
approach that?
Well, it's almost like having an elastic server
Okay.
that can expand when things get busy
Yeah.
and then contract
Wow.
when demand cools down.
So it adjusts.
So you're only using what you need
Yeah.
when you
Right.
need it.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, the AWS guidance mentions a few different approaches, right?
Eh.
Cluster autoscaler,
Yes.
cluster autoscaler with over-provisioning,
Mm-hmm.
and then this thing called Carpenter.
Carpenter.
So many options.
Right.
What's the breakdown? Like, what's the difference?
Well, think of the cluster autoscaler as like, okay.
Your reliable workhorse.
Okay.
It's going to steadily add
Yeah.
or remove nodes as your pods need them.
Okay.
It's great for those gradual
Yeah.
increases in demand.
Like a slow ramp up.
Yeah, nice and steady.
Okay. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But what about
Yeah.
those sudden bursts of traffic?
Ah, yes.
Like when
So
your website hits the front page of Reddit
the Reddit hug of death.
and everyone and their
That's what-
mother wants to check it out
Right.
all at the same time?
They're at the same time.
How do you deal with that?
That's where over-provisioning comes into play.
Okay.
You're essentially using low-priority pods to keep some nodes warmed up
Okay.
and ready to go.
So they're like,
Kind of like having a reserve team
Okay.
waiting on the bench, ready to jump in
Right.
when things get really intense.
got it.
So this way, you have faster scaling.
Yeah.
You can handle those unexpected spikes more smoothly.
And, you have minimal downtime for your
Uh-huh.
users, which is always a good thing.
Absolutely.
Nobody likes a website that's down.
No, definitely not. So always prepared for the
Yeah, you're ready for
big legs.
the big game, yeah.
Now, how does Carpenter fit into this?
Carpenter is like the
Okay,
next generation autoscaler.
next gen.
Yeah, it's really built for those applications with
Mhm.
really variable or complex workloads.
Right.
Think of something like a
Mhm.
real-time bidding platform or
Okay.
a massive online game.
Right, yeah.
It goes beyond just adding nodes.
Okay.
It can actually launch
Uh-huh.
the exact right
Okay.
compute resources
Mhm.
at any given moment,
Wow.
down to the specific instance type.
So it's very precise.
Very precise, yes.
Okay, so
It's all about efficiency and making sure
Mhm.
you have exactly what you need
Yeah.
when you need it.
now does that tie in with like the
And it can also help you take advantage of
Yeah.
cost-saving options,
Yeah.
like spot instances, for example.
right? So you could have Carpenter spin up a bunch of
Yep.
low-cost
Low-cost spot instance set.
spot instances if
Yeah.
there's a big surge in
Oh,
traffic.
exactly, precisely.
Okay, so that's
Gives
been
you a
burned.
lot of fine-grained control, like a recipe for some serious cost savings.
Yes, and that can make a huge difference,
Yes.
especially when every penny counts.
Okay, so we've talked compute scaling,
Yes.
but there's more to the story, right?
There's more to it.
It's not just about having enough
Yeah.
raw computing power.
Right.
It's about making sure your applications can handle
Right.
the workload.
The workload, yes. So,
So
how do
like
we make sure?
Having a powerful engine,
Uh-huh.
but if your transmission can't handle
Yeah.
the torque, you're not going anywhere.
You're not going anywhere fast, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
The
yeah.
same applies to your applications. You
Yeah.
need to make sure they can handle the load
Yeah.
without, having any hiccups.
Without everything falling apart.
Exactly.
So how do we do that? How do we...
Well, one of the key tools
Mm-hmm.
here is the horizontal pod autoscaler,
Okay.
or HPA for short.
HPA. Okay.
So this automatically adjusts
Okay.
the number of pod replicas
Huh?
based on things like
Okay.
CPU utilization.
Okay.
It's constantly monitoring your application.
Got
And if it sees that CPU usage
Okay.
is creeping up, it automatically spins up more replicas
Got it.
to share the load.
So it's like,
So it's kind of like having a
go.
built-in load balancer
yeah,
that's constantly adapting to your
Yeah.
application's needs.
that's pretty cool.
It's a pretty handy tool.
Yeah. Okay.
And it gets even better.
Oh, even better.
You can configure the HPA to use custom metrics that are specific to your application,
Oh, so it's not just CPU.
not just CPU.
Okay.
You can tailor it
Wow.
to your
More-
specific needs.
More powerful.
Yes.
Now, what about applications that need to scale
Mm-hmm.
based on like
Right.
the size of the cluster itself?
Yes.
I know that the AWS guidance mentioned something.
Where the cluster proportional autoscaler.
Yeah, cluster proportional autoscaling.
Yeah, with CPA.
Comes
Here's
in.
CPA about it.
So this is specifically designed for applications
Okay.
where redundancy and availability
Yeah.
are tied to the number of nodes in your
Okay.
cluster.
All right.
So think about critical infrastructure services
Yeah.
like Core DNS.
Core DNS, right?
As your cluster grows,
Uh-huh.
the CPA makes sure
Okay.
these essential services scale proportionally,
Got it.
ensuring that everything remains stable. So it keeps those behind-the-scenes things running smoothly,
Yeah.
even
Also,
as the cluster grows.
especially as the cluster expands.
Okay, that's super important.
It is.
Yeah, I also see this
Yeah.
Kubernetes-based event-driven autoscaler,
Ah.
Kita.
Kina.
Yes.
What makes that one so special?
Kita is perfect for
Yeah.
applications that are driven by events
Right.
rather than just, CPU usage or
Yeah.
cluster size.
Right.
So think about a serverless function
Okay.
that gets triggered
Uh-huh.
every time a new message lands in a queue.
Okay.
Kita can automatically scale your application up
Right.
or down
Yeah.
based on the number of events.
So if a million messages
What-
suddenly show up,
If you have a sudden surge of messages, Kita can
it can handle it.
handle it, yeah.
Cool.
And then when things quiet down,
Yeah.
it scales back down.
Okay. So it's very
Okay,
dynamic.
And it can
Yeah.
handle a wide variety of event sources.
Got it.
You can even define your own custom scalers.
So it's
If
very
you need something really specific,
Yeah.
you can do that.
All right. So we've talked about compute scaling,
Yeah.
workload scaling.
Workload scaling.
But none of that matters if our network can't keep up, right?
Exactly. If your network's lagging,
Yeah, let's not.
it doesn't matter how powerful your application is.
Right. What are some
You're going to be bottlenecked.
of the key
Yeah.
considerations there?
So network scaling is all about making sure that your data flows efficiently
Yeah.
between services,
Uh-huh.
especially
Yeah.
as your environment grows.
Okay.
You don't want any
Right. You don't know
bottlenecks or anything getting cracked.
slowing things down.
What good is a lightning fast application
Right.
if the network's lagging, right?
Exactly.
So how do we make sure
how we're thinking.
handle all this awesomeness?
So how do we? AWS provides a number of
Sure.
tools and features
Okay.
to help with this. First off, we have the Amazon VPC CNI plugin.
Amazon VPC CNI plugin. Okay.
So this seamlessly integrates
okay.
your Kubernetes pods
Yep.
with Amazon VPC. And this is crucial because
Okay.
it gives each pod its
Yeah.
own unique IP address
So it's like each pod gets
from your VPC.
its own little slice of the
Exactly.
network.
It's like getting its own little piece of the pie.
What are the advantages there?
So this isolation improves performance,
Okay.
but it also boosts security.
Okay.
Plus, the plugin supports something called prefix delegation,
Okay.
which dynamically allocates IP addresses to
Yeah.
nodes
Okay.
as your cluster scales.
So no more manually assigned
No more manual assign.
IP addresses. That's
All automatic.
great.
Very
Cool. Makes things a lot easier.
It handles a lot of that.
Especially when you're dealing with a
Yeah.
large and dynamic cluster.
Now, what if you need even more control, like real
So if you need finer control
fine-grained?
over your network setup,
Yeah.
that's where custom networking comes into play.
All right. So
This gives you granular control
that's network.
over how IP addresses are managed,
Okay.
letting you assign specific network interfaces
Okay.
to individual pods.
Got it.
And this is especially useful
Yeah.
if you need to,
Yeah.
say, segregate network traffic
Right.
for security or
Mm.
performance reasons,
Got it.
or if you're concerned about
Right.
running out of IP addresses.
Right. Okay.
So it gives you that extra level of flexibility.
Yeah. AWS guidance also mentions
Mm.
prefix delegation.
Is that related to the custom networking?
Prefix delegation is more about simplifying IP management in large clusters.
All right.
So it allows you to assign larger blocks of IP addresses to nodes and then let the nodes handle the individual IP assignments for their pods.
So it's like giving each node...
It's like giving each node
a big bucket
of IP addresses.
IP addresses and saying, as needed.
Here, you figure it out.
Exactly.
How does that make things easier?
So this approach streamlines your network management, making it much simpler to scale without running into IP address exhaustion issues.
Okay, it's all about efficiency and
scalability.
And keeping things running smoothly.
Exactly.
Okay.
You want to keep those data packets flowing.
There's one more networking piece I want to touch on.
Okay.
Amazon VPC Lattice.
Ah, yes, VPC Lattice. This sounds like the real deal.
I feel like game changer.
Okay.
Especially for microservices architectures. It really simplifies service-to-service communication when in and across VPCs, even across different AWS regions.
So it's like having a super highway for your microservices to communicate with each other.
Okay, that sounds really impressive.
It's a very powerful tool.
Yeah.
And it doesn't skimp on security either.
Okay, that's good.
It integrates with all the familiar AWS security tools like security groups, network ACLs, and even IAM.
So you can still control
to give you
who has access to what?
Granular control.
Okay, so it's powerful, it's secure. That's great.
It's the best of both worlds.
But we've got to talk about the big elephant in the room.
Cost.
The cost, All the scaling. Scaling can get expensive.
Very quickly. Really fast.
If you're not careful.
Yeah. So how do we make sure we're not, completely blowing our budget while we're building out this amazing infrastructure?
Cost optimization. That's absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
You've got to balance.
You've got to find the right balance.
Well, this amazing scaling power with a smart cost management strategy.
And
luckily, there are tools and techniques.
I'm all ears.
That can help us achieve that.
Okay, what kind of tools?
Well, one of the most popular tools is KubeCost.
KubeCost.
And this is specifically designed for managing Kubernetes costs. So it's kind of like a financial advisor for your EKS cluster.
So it's like
you get real-time cost monitoring.
Personal accountant.
Optimization,
recommendations.
EKS spending.
Budgeting tools, alerts. All sorts of goodies.
So it can help prevent those?
It gives you the visibility and control you need.
Nasty surprises on the cloud, Bill.
To avoid those surprises.
Okay, that's super valuable.
It is a very valuable tool.
And what about Goldilocks?
Does that help us find the just right balance?
It helps you find the just right balance between cost and performance. So it analyzes your resource usage patterns and then recommends optimal settings.
So CPU and memory.
All that good stuff.
Requests and limits.
Okay.
So it helps you avoid...
It helps you avoid both overspending.
Both over-provisioning.
Okay.
Which wastes money.
Yeah.
And under-provisioning.
Yeah.
Which can impact performance.
So you get the...
So Goldilocks helps you find that sweet spot without...
Where you're getting the performance you need.
Blowing the budget.
Without overspending.
All right. Now, we touched on spot instances a little bit earlier.
Yes.
Can you remind me how those can help?
Spot instantation.
Are unused EC2 instances that AWS offers at a significant discount compared to on-demand instances.
Yeah.
The catch is that AWS can reclaim them.
There's a catch.
There is a catch.
Okay.
They can reclaim them with a 2-minute warning.
Okay.
If they need
the capacity back.
Getting a great deal on a plane ticket.
It is. It's like...
But there's a chance
it's a standby ticket.
They're going to bump you.
Yeah.
If the flight is full.
If they need the seat.
Yeah, okay.
They're going to take it back.
That makes sense.
But if your workloads are fault tolerant and stateless, meaning they can handle being interrupted and restarted, spot instances can save you a lot of money.
So if you can handle those,
you can handle interruptions.
It might be a good option.
A very cost-effective option.
Okay, so it sounds like we have...
There are a lot of different ways to optimize costs.
To optimize costs, while still building a powerful EKS infrastructure.
A very powerful EKS infrastructure.
That's great.
It is.
Is there anything else?
We still have a few tricks up our sleeves.
Okay.
We're going to talk about reserved instances, And also those very powerful AWS Graviton instances.
Cool. So we've covered a ton of ground.
Unique advantages, cost-conscious EKS users.
Workload scaling.
Absolutely. We've covered a lot.
Network optimization.
And even process management for understanding the key considerations. Yeah. That's for scaling your EKS infrastructure.
A really good overview.
But we're not done yet.
Okay.
We're just getting started. Okay. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve deeper into those cost-saving strategies.
Cost-saving strategies.
Yeah, uncover the power of reserved instances. Those amazing Graviton instances. You won't want to miss it.
It's going to be good.
Stay with us.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking cost optimization expert speaker for your EKS clusters.
Yeah, we got to make sure all this awesome scaling power doesn't break the bank.
Doesn't break the bank.
So
exactly.
Let's pick up where we left off.
Oh.
Reserved instances.
Reserved instances.
They sound kind of like, those gym memberships that you...
They're kind of like that.
Commit to for a year.
Yeah.
Except
you're making a commitment.
Instead of getting fit...
Right.
Your servers get a discount.
Your servers get a discount, exactly.
That's a pretty good analogy. So reserved instances are all about...
It's all about commitment.
Commitment.
You basically say, hey, AWS, I'm going to need these specific EC2 instances for the next, 1 to 3 years.
1 to 3 years, okay.
And in return, you get some pretty significant savings.
Significant savings, right.
Compared to those... pay-as-you-go on-demand instances.
Okay, so if you have like a stable workload...
If you have a stable workload...
that is going to be around for a while.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Reserved instances could be a real money saver.
Like a database.
Like a database.
Or a core production service.
Exactly.
Something like that.
That's like locking in a great rate on your apartment lease.
Okay.
You're committing to a certain amount of time, but in return, you get a lower price.
Makes sense. So it's best for those things.
It's best for those workloads.
That aren't going anywhere.
That aren't going anywhere anytime soon.
All right. Now let's talk about these AWS Graviton instances.
Graviton instances.
I keep hearing how powerful and efficient they are.
They are very impressive.
What makes them so special?
They're powered by ARM-based processors that are custom designed by AWS.
Custom designed, all right? So they're built specifically...
They're really built for...
the cloud.
The cloud.
Okay.
And what's really cool about them is that they offer this combination of performance and cost savings.
So you get the best of both worlds.
You get the best of both worlds.
All right.
So they're especially great for...
I've got an application that needs to like...
cloud-native applications and anything that needs...
crunch a ton of data.
A lot of compute power.
Yeah. Graviton instances.
If you've got an application that needs to...
could be a good option.
Crunch a ton of data.
Okay.
Graviton instances could be a good option.
What are some of the things I should be thinking about if I'm considering those?
Well, one important thing to consider is compatibility.
Compatibility, okay.
Not every application is designed to run on...
I got to ensure the IRM architecture.
That my app is actually compatible.
So you need to make sure that your applications are actually compatible.
Got it.
With ARM before you make the switch.
Kind of like you need to make sure that your new coffee maker...
buying a new appliance.
...is compatible with your outlet.
And making sure it plugs in.
Before you plug it in.
Exactly.
Right.
You don't want to buy a fancy new coffee maker.
You don't want to get home.
And realize it doesn't work.
And realize it doesn't fit.
In your kitchen.
Yeah. Okay.
So compatibility is key.
Make sure your apps...
are ready for ARM.
Now, let's take a step back for a second. Let's zoom out for a minute.
Okay.
We've talked about all these strategies.
Right.
But how do we actually bring this all together?
Like we've got all the ingredients for an amazing meal.
But having all the ingredients...
But you don't have a recipe.
Yeah. So how do we approach...
this
whole scaling puzzle?
Well... the first thing you need to do is really understand your application.
Understand the application.
Okay.
What are its specific needs?
All right. So what kind of traffic
patterns are we seeing?
Do you see?
Is it predictable?
Are you dealing with predictable, steady workloads? Or are you facing those unpredictable spikes in demand? So it's all about choosing the right... tool for the job.
You wouldn't use a hammer
Right.
to screw in a light bulb.
Exactly.
You need the right tool
for the right task.
Once you understand...
So once you have a good grasp on your workload, then you can start putting together
in those
scaling tools and strategies.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to experiment.
Okay.
You know, fine-tune your setup as you go.
It's an ongoing
process.
It's an ongoing optimization journey.
All right?
Constantly tweaking and improving.
But where do we even begin?
How do we start?
Is there a roadmap?
That provides...
Checklist, something like that.
Some excellent resources to help you along the way.
Right, like what?
They have best practices guides.
Okay.
White papers.
Okay.
Tons of practical advice.
All right.
On implementing these scaling strategies.
Okay.
There's even a tool called the AWS Workload Qualification Framework.
AWS Workload Qualification Framework.
Or AWS WQF.
AWS WQF. Got it.
Which can help you assess your workloads.
Okay.
And get recommendations.
So it kind of gives you...
As the best approach.
It's like having...
You're trying to personalize scaling consultant.
Yeah.
Right at your fingertips.
That's awesome.
It's a pretty handy tool.
Cost optimization. That's not just a...
Cost optimization.
Shouldn't be a one-time...
Make it a regular...
We need to make this...
Regular part of our...
Check your resource usage regularly. Use tools like...
So keep checking in,
check your resource usage regularly.
Okay.
But use tools like...
Keep checking in, making sure.
KubeCost to identify areas for improvement.
Things are running.
And don't be afraid to adjust your scaling strategies.
And adjusting as needed, as your needs change.
Okay, this is all...
It's an ongoing process.
Making a lot of sense.
It is.
But I have to ask about the human element.
The human element.
Like... All this automation is amazing.
Yes.
But we still need people.
We still need to
manage and monitor
to complex systems, right?
Absolutely.
So how do we...
Automation can handle...
Do we factor that in?
A lot of the heavy lifting.
Okay.
But you still need skilled engineers who really understand the intricacies of EKS, Kubernetes.
They need to know what they're doing.
And all these scaling tools.
We need to be able to troubleshoot.
They need to be able to...
Troubleshoot problems.
Yes.
Fine-tune settings.
It's about the tech,
it's about
when and how to scale.
Having the right people.
It's about having the right people in place to steer the ship. Okay, and making sure those people are...
And don't forget about training.
Right.
The cloud world is always evolving.
Always learning.
Your team needs to stay up to date.
Always learning.
To make the most of these technologies.
It's a never-ending learning adventure.
Now, something that's probably on everyone's minds...
Security.
Is security.
Right.
With all this scaling going on.
Right.
How do we make sure our clusters are not
everything is secure
and protected?
That's a crucial question.
Yeah.
Security should never be an afterthought.
Right.
Especially when you're scaling up.
Scaling up, yeah. Your infrastructure.
Right.
So the good news is...
How do we approach that?
That Amazon EKS is deeply integrated with AWS's security services. So you've got multiple layers.
So we got like multiple layers of protection right out of the box. Right out of the box. Okay, breakdown for us. What kind of
You've got
IAM features?
Identity and access management.
Okay, this lets you control who has access.
Okay, so that's like
your EKS resources and what actions
you can get in.
They can perform.
Yeah.
Like the bouncer.
Like a security checkpoint with
ID checks.
Making sure the right people get in.
Perfect.
Then you've got security groups and network ACLs.
Security groups and network ACLs.
These act like firewalls.
Okay, so they're like...
You're close to...
security guards.
Controlling the flow of traffic in and out.
Yeah.
So they're making sure
nothing suspicious.
Nothing suspicious gets through.
Okay.
And then let's not forget about encryption.
Encryption, right. So
you can encrypt your data at rest.
We're protecting the data itself.
Using services like AWS KMS.
AWS KMS.
And encrypt data in transit using TLS.
Okay.
So this adds an extra layer of protection.
Encrypting both at rest
and in transit.
Your sensitive information remains confidential.
So it's like we're putting it in a vault.
Exactly.
With multiple locks and security.
Putting your data in a safe. With multiple locks.
That sounds pretty secure.
And there's even more.
Oh, there's even more.
You can use services like AWS Security Hub.
AWS Security Hub, all right.
For managing your security posture.
Okay.
Amazon Guard Duty.
Amazon Guard Duty, okay.
For threat detection.
Got it.
and AWS config.
AWS config.
I'm sure you're meeting.
So lots of tools to make sure we're
all the compliance requirements.
Doing everything right. So AWS has really thought of everything.
It sounds like AWS has really...
When it comes to thought of everything.
They make it a top priority when it comes to security.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, it's good that they're...
With the right security measures in place...
Taking it seriously.
You can scale your EKS cluster with confidence.
So, with the right security measures, we can scale confidently.
Your data and application
that our data is safe.
Exactly.
All right, now I want to emphasize one point.
Okay.
We've been talking about all these different tools and strategies.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
But there's no one-size-fits-all.
There is no one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
What works best for
about
one application or organization
finding the right approach
might not be the right fit.
For your specific needs.
For another.
Yeah, like finding...
It's like finding the perfect recipe.
The perfect recipe. You
might need to adjust. The ingredients, the cooking time.
And the cooking times.
To create something that...
actually works for you.
A culinary masterpiece that suits your taste.
Find what works for you, experiment.
Exactly.
Try different things.
You got to experiment.
Try different things.
The journey doesn't end there, right?
It doesn't end there.
There's always more.
The world of cloud computing is always changing.
Explore.
There's always something new to learn and explore.
On that note, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll explore some additional resources that can help you on your EKS scaling journey.
Looking forward to.
And we'll leave you with some final thoughts to ponder.
Some food for thought.
As you embark on this exciting adventure.
I like it.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've covered so much ground talking about compute scaling, workload scaling, optimizing your network.
Right.
Keeping those costs in check.
Cost is always a big factor.
Yeah. And I think
it's important to emphasize that, the learning never really stops in this world.
The cloud is constantly evolving.
The cloud is constantly changing.
New things are coming out all the time.
Yeah. New features.
All the time.
New services.
Yes.
So how can our listeners
make
sure they're
ahead of the curve?
Staying ahead of the curve.
Well, luckily, what are some of the...
AWS provides a ton of resources.
That can use.
They have. We've included some links in the show notes.
Yeah.
But there's detailed documentation, white papers, best practices guides, even blog posts.
So really like a whole library of...
Dive deep into specific EKS scaling topics.
Okay. That's great.
There's something for everyone.
And don't underestimate the power of...
And don't forget about community. There are forums, user groups.
Yeah, all those
community.
Online where you can connect with
forums and groups.
Other EKS users.
Yeah, where you can
share your experience.
Talk to other people who are using
EKS
successes and challenges.
Share tips and tricks.
The collective knowledge and experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's out there.
And don't be afraid to reach out to
AWS support.
Reach out to AWS support.
If you're stuck.
Hit a snag.
If you have a question.
Yeah.
They're there to help you succeed.
They're there to help.
They want you to be successful.
Now, all this talk about resources and community.
And speaking of community.
Makes me think about.
Another important piece
of the
puzzle is collaboration.
Collaboration, yeah.
Scaling EKS effectively.
So it's not just about the technology.
Isn't just about the tech.
Right. It's also about
having the right people and the process.
And processes in place.
Yeah, like you need a
skilled team.
The team of
engineers
who know what they're
who understand EKS.
Who understand how it all works together.
Get scaling tools.
Clear communication between
they work together.
Those teams is so important.
Clear communication between teams is essential.
From development to operation.
From dev to ops.
To security, even finance.
To security to finance, yeah.
It's like a well-choreographed dance.
On the same page.
Working together,
towards that
moving towards a common goal.
It's like a well-choreographed dance.
Okay, and remember. Scaling EKS.
Scaling EKS is
an iterative process.
An iterative process.
You're not going to get it perfect.
You're not going to get it perfect.
On the first try.
It's
a journey.
It's all about experimenting.
Not a destination.
Learning from, experiment, learn from what works, what doesn't work.
And what doesn't.
And keep refining your approach. Embracing
this.
An agile mindset. Be adaptable.
Be iterative. And always keep striving.
Constantly striving.
For improvement. You got it.
Okay, so as we wrap up this EKS scaling journey.
Our EKS scaling journey.
Let's recap some of those key lessons. Let's recap. Understand what your
application's need.
Daily needs.
Choose the right tools for the job.
Choose the right tool.
Embrace automation.
Don't skimp on security.
Embrace automation. Don't skip security.
And never stop learning. That's right. That's right.
It's a journey, not a destination.
And with the right mindset.
And the right resources.
You can build and scale.
You can build EKS clusters.
And scale EKS clusters.
That are both powerful and cost-effective.
And
most importantly, have fun with it.
Yeah.
Building and scaling in the cloud.
Have fun.
Can be so rewarding.
Building and scaling in the cloud is fun.
Especially see your applications.
Especially when you see those applications.
And delivering value to users.
Thriving and delivering value.
All right. Well,
until next time.
That's all the time we have for today.
Happy scaling.
Happy scaling or happy learning, everyone.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and watch more videos on our channel.